The newly discovered brain microbiome could change our understanding of Alzheimer's and dementia. Many of you are probably familiar with the gut microbiome, which is the fact that your intestines are home to literally trillions of different species of bacteria that influence your body in complex and subtle ways. Well, new research published right here says the remarkable complexity of the brain microbiome in health and disease breaks an old myth, because for many years it was assumed that the brain was the last bastion of sterility in the body. It has a blood-brain barrier, and if you've had certain illnesses, you might have heard doctors talking about something so rare it gets through the blood-brain barrier. That's really bad. Microbes were thought to be too big to pass through, but according to new research, microbes actually flourish in the brain. The brain has its own microbiome that is very hard to study because we can't get a sample like a swab or anything like that. You can't just cut into your brain to take a sample of it. And what's interesting is that scientists have noticed that there is an overlap between overpopulation overgrowths of certain bacteria in the brain and mental deficits such as dementia, Alzheimer's, and other diseases. This article calls back to the Borrelia bacteria, which causes Lyme disease. Had some fun with that recently. Don't recommend it to anybody ever. Absolutely miserable time, but it's one that will stealthily sneak through the blood-brain barrier into your brain, and I can tell you from experience, it causes a lot of mental health problems, deficits, changes in your cognition, and really nasty things like that. And it kind of got doctors investigating the brain again. And what they were able to discover is, say, for example, an Alzheimer's patient that had a swift decline actually had an infection of an unusual type of fungus that got into his brain. And what researchers found is that in many, but not all of Alzheimer's patients' brains, they saw an overabundance of several microbes. Major ones are species such as Streptococcus, Staphylococcus bacteria, things like Candida, Cryptococcus, and stuff like that. And these are pretty well-known pathologies in humans. We just didn't think that they affected brains or would build up in your brain biome. And the research is relatively new, from 2023. The doctors think that this could be important. It could be a causal agent, that an imbalance in your brain biome causes you to have mental deficits, or that some other problem with your body throws your system, your balance, your hormones, whatever you want to call it, out of order, and that causes the buildup of bacteria in your brain, which would then cause the problem. So it's very interesting research, and I gotta admit, it's not something I thought about before. We've talked on this channel a lot about the gut microbiome. I didn't even know there was a brain microbiome. I was one of those plebes that thought your brain was, for the most part, sterile.